Ooh, it's that time of the year. The 12 Days of MLB Rankings officially starts today, getting it started with the catcher position. In case you're new to the channel, I rank every position and every player in Major League Baseball for the 12 Days of Christmas, with the series ending on Christmas Day, ranking the top 50 players in Major League Baseball in my opinion. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any players, positions, your favorite teams, whatever it is. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a like on the video. There's an immense amount of work that goes into this. It really does help support the channel. And always get in the comment section down below and let me know who you agree or disagree with on my rankings. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. So without further ado, let's get it started from worst to best with the catcher position, day one of the 12 Days of MLB Rankings. Getting the 12 Days of MLB Rankings started at the catcher position at number 31, I've got Corey Lee of the Chicago White Sox. Corey Lee struggled in his first full season at the Major League level, a .210 average with a .244 on base, .347 slugging, and a .591 OPS for an OPS plus at 68. Just really doesn't cut it. 12 homers was pretty decent in under 400 plate appearances, and he does have a great pop time, but that's not enough right now to bump him off the bottom of this list. Next up at number 30, I've got Nick Fortes, catcher for the Miami Marlins. Fortes has been the main catcher in Miami the last two seasons, and the numbers just aren't very good. While he's a decent athlete and at times has been good behind the plate defensively, the 53 OPS plus over his last 200 games is just not good enough to be acceptable with that defense. Power's not really there. He doesn't get on base. He's really a backup at the end of the day. Keeping it in the state of Florida, at number 29, I've got Tampa Bay Rays catcher Ben Rortvedt. Rortvedt is more of a platoon type catcher. The reason you have Rortvedt, pretty good defensively behind the plate, a lot of good stuff with the framing and blocking and caught stealing, but at the plate, similarly to a lot of the guys towards the bottom of this list, Rortvedt is just lacking. In 112 games last year, he had 16 extra base hits and had an OPS at 621. These guys have value, but just not right now as everyday players. One of the most disappointing drops in today's video, almost down a full 10 spots, Keibert Ruiz of the Washington Nationals, coming in at number 28. What a horrendous season Ruiz had last year, and this is someone who I'd been pretty high on. I thought he had some real potential, but last year really scared me. The power numbers were down. The on-base percentage was a measly 260, a 619 OPS, an OPS plus at 74. The defense was absolutely atrocious. It pains me to put Keibert all the way down here at 28, but he had such a nightmare season. Feels like a lot of the shine is worn off with Keibert Ruiz. Similarly, dropping 10 spots here, coming in at number 27, I've got Luis Campusano of the San Diego Padres. I thought Campusano made some really good changes going into the 2024 season, but it ended up being a horrendous year. He ended up eventually losing that starting job to Kyle Higashioka. 8 homers, 13 doubles, 40 RBIs in 91 games, a .227 average, .281 on base, .361 slugging, and a .642 OPS for an OPS plus at 78, with, again, subpar defense, nothing to write home about. Campusano has to go down this list. Waiting for the pop-off, waiting for the breakout, and it just is not coming. Just missing on the top 25 at number 26, I've got Colorado Rockies catcher Jacob Stallings. Stallings actually had a shockingly good year in Colorado after years and years of being really bad in Miami. But he goes to a more hitter-friendly ballpark, and he has one of the best offensive seasons of his career. 82 games, he hit 9 homers, 17 doubles, 36 RBIs with a .263 average, .357 on base, .453 slugging, and an .810 OPS for an OPS plus at 118. Those are really great numbers. I don't necessarily think they're that sticky. His defense wasn't as good as it's been in previous years, which is why I have him a little bit further down in today's video, but not to mention he's also going into his 35-year-old season. I think Coors helped him a lot last season, but it was a good year overall. Getting the top 25 started at number 25, we've got Joey Bart of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Joey Bart had an awesome season in Pittsburgh. In 80 games, 13 homers, 11 doubles, 45 RBIs, with a nearly 800 OPS and an OPS plus at 120. Defensively, Joey Bart is a little bit sketchy, and I do have concerns about the sustainability of the offensive numbers that we saw in Pittsburgh. But that was the player that the Giants had been waiting for, and the Pirates finally got that production out of him. He's someone who could fly up this list next season with a good year, but I'm going to remain a little bit cautious as of right now, which is why he's at number 25. Coming in as the 24th best catcher in Major League Baseball this season, I've got Miguel Amaya of the Chicago Cubs. Now, hear me out. I know the numbers in the slash line for the year don't look great, but it's a tale of two stories with Miguel Amaya. He made a huge adjustment to his swing and his stance in the second half of the season, and he was so much better. Overall in the year, Miguel Amaya had 8 home runs, 13 doubles, 47 RBIs, and an OPS at 644. That was not great. But if you look at his first and second half splits, in the second half alone, he had 5 homers, 8 doubles, 29 RBIs in significantly less games, 271 average, 444 slugging, 761 OPS, and defensively, while he's a bit not that great, he is an elite blocker. I'm really interested to see what Miguel Amaya does. He's a former top 100 prospect, and it seems like he might have figured something out in the second half of the season. Another catcher dropping down quite a few spots here at number 23, I've got Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen is more in a role now of being more of a platoon player, I think, than someone who's going to be an everyday catcher, and even then, it's still a little bit questionable. I do like Danny Jansen's power. I do like what he's been able to be defensively in previous years. It's just last season was really bad for him between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. Only played 92 games. The offensive numbers were down to 658 OPS, was the lowest he's had since 2020. An 87 OPS plus, similarly the lowest since 2020. It was just not a good year for Danny Jansen. He's only 30, so I think there's still a lot left there, but I did have to bump him down a few because the play just wasn't as good as previous seasons. Coming in at number 22, I've got Cleveland Guardians catcher Bo Naylor. Granted, I still think there is a good bat somewhere inside of Bo Naylor. He hit 13 home runs last year in under 400 plate appearances, but he was swinging and missing a lot. He didn't walk at all. Again, the big reason Bo Naylor is here right now is because of his defense. It was elite. He was fantastic behind the plate, and I think for a Cleveland Guardians team, that's really all they're asking for. I would just like to see Naylor evolve with the bat a little bit more so he doesn't become the next Austin Hedges. At the exact same spot as he was last year, number 21, Jake Rogers of the Detroit Tigers. Purely a coincidence that he stayed exactly where he was, but I think it's fitting. He had another okay season. Defensively, I mean, one of the best in baseball, cannon of an arm, great framer, everything you'd want to see. And that stuff is important. But at the plate, it was not great for Jake Rogers. I mean, he had a 607 OPS for an OPS plus at 71. I think because we've seen him hit 20 home runs back in 2023, I'm being a little bit generous keeping him in the exact same spot. That defense and power potential is interesting to me. I think he's just outside the top 20. Getting the top 20 started at number 20, I've got Connor Wong, catcher for the Boston Red Sox. Now, Red Sox fans, hold on. Before you start screaming and yelling, here's exactly why. One, defensively, Connor Wong is not great. He's not really a catcher at the end of the day, not someone you feel comfortable with being there every single game. That being said, his offense was great last year. 13 homers, 24 doubles, 52 RBIs. He hit 280, finished with a 758 OPS for an OPS plus at 110. I don't know how sticky the offensive numbers are. The expected numbers did not love Connor Wong, and there's reason as to why he doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, but maybe he's figured out Fenway. He had a really good season. I think he's definitely a top 20 catcher in the league. Keeping it in the AL East at number 19, I've got Alejandro Kirk, aka Captain Kirk, catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think we know that Kirk's not going to be that offensive player he was back in 2022, where he finished with a near 800 OPS, but defensively, still remains solid, still pretty good behind the plate, and even offensively, he's a slightly below league average hitter with maybe the ability to be better because of his elite plate discipline. But 13 homers over the last 200 games that he's played, an OPS below 700, I did have to bump Kirk down a few spots here. He's only 26 though, he could definitely bounce back for sure. Next up, a big jump up here from 24 to 18, Tyler Stevenson, catcher for the Cincinnati Reds. After a really disappointing 2023, Tyler Stevenson bounced back in 2024 and had a great year. Defensively, again, nothing special, but you have Tyler Stevenson for the bat, and he showed it. 19 homers, 26 doubles, 66 RBIs, a 258 average, 338 on base, 444 slugging for a 782 OPS for an OPS plus at 112 were some of the best offensive numbers amongst catchers in Major League Baseball. Of course, he plays in Cincinnati, so the power numbers are going to be a little bit inflated, but I think Tyler Stevenson is finally feeling healthy and looks like he could get back to his old self, where he could be one of the better hitting catchers in all of Major League Baseball consistently. Another big jump up here at number 17, Shea Langeliers of the Oakland A's. Langeliers is a bizarre player because what he does well. The things that he doesn't do well, he does pretty horribly. It just so happens the things that he does well are throwing out runners, which is arguably one of the most important things you could do in Major League Baseball with the influx of steals, and he barrels up the ball at an elite rate. He's horrible at framing, god-awful at blocking, maybe the worst blocker in all of Major League Baseball, but 29 homers, 80 RBIs, and being able to throw out runners like he did, that's really interesting to me. He's gotten better and better every year he's been in the majors. I'm interested to see what he can do in the 2025 season. I think 17's a fair spot for a guy like Langeliers. Bit of a drop here at number 16, Jonah Heim of the Texas Rangers. What an awful season he had last year, but to be fair, everybody on the Rangers seemingly did. They had major World Series hangover. Heim had less home runs than he had the previous year, significantly less doubles. The extra base hits were down. The RBIs were down. Every number across the board was way worse. And this was the worst season we've seen from Heim since 2021. So I didn't want to punish him too hard, but because of the average dropping down, the OPS being barely above 600 and the defense not being as sharp, I did have to drop him nearly 10 spots down to number 16 here. But I would not be shocked at all for a bounce back because he's way too good to play as bad as he did last year. This is someone who I thought was a top 10 catcher previously. Getting the top 15 started at number 15, I've got Logan O'Hoppe of the Los Angeles Angels. New York kid Logan O'Hoppe dealt with some injuries in previous years, but last year 110 136 games, 20 homers, 17 doubles, 56 RBIs. Love the bat. Great barrel rates. 244 average, 303 on base, 409 slugging, and a 712 OPS for an OPS plus at 100. He's also kind of whatever defensively. He's only 25 years old, so there's still so much room to grow, and I love what I see at the plate, which is why I kind of have him just in the middle of the pack. He kind of was a middle of the pack catcher last year with room to grow and get significantly better next year. For the 14th best catcher in Major League Baseball, I'm going with St. Louis Cardinals' new catcher, Ivan Herrera. Wilson Contreras is playing first base this upcoming season, so Herrera is going to take the reins behind the dish, and it makes sense because last year in 72 games, he was awesome for the Cardinals. He had 18 extra base hits in 259 plate appearances, 301 average, 372 on base, 428 slugging, and 800 OPS for an OPS plus at 124. Herrera also is a decent enough catcher behind the plate where these offensive numbers can help with his shortcomings defensively. I think there's a reason that the Cardinals wanted to put him behind the plate. They wanted to get that bat in there, and it does seem pretty good. So yeah, Herrera, right around the top 15. Next up at number 13, I've got Minnesota Twins catcher Ryan Jeffers. I had to take him out of the top 10 just because he did fall off a little bit offensively and defensively last season, but I still really do like Ryan Jeffers as a player. He's a barrel rate catcher, 21 homers, 22 doubles, 64 RBIs last season, 122 games, a 226 average, 300 on base, a 226 average, 300 on base, 432 slugging, gave him an OPS at 732, which was about 120 points lower than the previous year. Even though there was a drop in production from Jeffers on both sides of the baseball, I still think he's a very good catcher. And again, that Twins team was weird. I'm thinking he's going to be all right next season. Coming in as the number 12 catcher in Major League Baseball, he plays for my favorite team, the New York Mets. We've got Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez had a really weird second season. He had a hand injury earlier in the season against the Dodgers, kind of derailed his season. The power didn't come till a lot later in the year. But despite that, he finished with a better offensive season than he did in 2023 when he hit 25 home runs. Last year, 11 homers, 14 doubles, 47 RBIs in 100 games with a 237 average, 307 on base, 403 slugging, and a 710 OPS for an OPS plus at 101. Defensively, Alvarez is really solid. A lot of good things going on there. In 2025, he'll only be in his 23-year-old season, so the ceiling is incredibly high on this kid, but I'm going to keep him outside the top 10 still. Got to show me a little bit more. And then just missing out on the top 10 at number 11, I've got Gabriel Moreno of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Moreno is a really good player. I want to see him hit for more power. These single-digit home run numbers aren't going to cut it for me. The bat-to-ball skills are incredible. I mean, last year, 266 average, 353 on base, 380 slugging, 734 OPS for an OPS plus at 105. Those are solid. He struck out only 11 times more than he walked last year, 52 strikeouts to 41 walks. He's just got to start hitting the ball with a little more oomph because defensively, he's great. He doesn't swing and miss. He doesn't chase. He has great discipline. He's a strong kid. Need to see those exit velos up. Need to see him lift the ball more. And if he does, wow, he's going to be scary good. Getting the top 10 started at number 10, dropping 7 spots, Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves. I think everyone in Atlanta would like to forget last year, especially Sean Murphy. It was a nightmare season. After having 2 incredible years back-to-back, he had arguably the worst season of his career. 10 homers, 5 doubles in 72 games, a 193 average, an on-base under 300, an OPS at 636. Sean Murphy, of course, dealt with injuries, and it showed. The season was bad. There were some things that were concerning, especially with the athleticism in his game, and his barrel rate did drop quite a bit. The velos were down, but I'm still going to give Sean Murphy the benefit of the doubt and just chalk it up to injuries, keep him as a top 10 catcher. Next up at number 9, I've got Patrick Bailey of the San Francisco Giants. Now, I'm going to just address the elephant in the room. Offensively, he's horrible. There's nothing really there. Last year in 121 games, he had like 25 extra base hits, an OPS at 637, an OPS plus at 84. Like, that's not great. But Patrick Bailey, without a doubt, is the best defensive catcher in Major League Baseball, and it's not particularly close. Caught stealing above average, 98th percentile, framing, 100th percentile, pop time, 97th percentile. He's disgusting behind the plate. He's like a magician. And to be fair, that was his scouting report coming out of NC State. He does hit the ball somewhat hard. San Francisco's a hard place to hit. But if he can ever find a season where the bat does wake up, wow, he's going to put up some crazy valuable numbers for the Giants. And I'm sure Buster Posey is going to help him out quite a bit too. Coming in at number 8, moving up a whopping 15 spots, the most in today's video, Austin Wells of the New York Yankees. I was telling you at the beginning of last year, Austin Wells over Jose Trevino, he should be the starting catcher for the Yankees. And they did eventually make the switch. He played in 115 games this year, finished 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting, 13 homers, 18 doubles, 55 RBIs, a 229 average with a 322 on base, 395 slugging, and 718 OPS for an OPS plus at 103. Was a pretty great rookie year. Defensively, way better than we expected. Really surprised at how good he was back there. And I think his swing, his approach at the plate. Everything that I saw from Austin Wells in his rookie year shows me that he's not just going to be a one-and-done catcher for the Yankees. He's here for the long haul. He's one of the 10 best catchers in baseball. Another huge jump up the list here at number 7, Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals. I just love Salvi. He's so good. I hope one day he can make it into the Hall of Fame. He's one of my favorite catchers of all time. And coming off of one of the worst seasons of his career in 2023, he bounced right back. 27 homers, 28 doubles, 104 RBIs. I mean, the offensive numbers are fantastic. Huge reason why the Royals were able to make the playoffs out of nowhere. 271 average, 330 on base, 456 slugging, 786 OPS for an OPS plus at 119 while hitting in Kansas City. Not a hitter-friendly ballpark. Salvi just is good. Now, of course, defensively, that's where you have issues with him. He's not the greatest framer. He's not the fastest guy, most athletic behind the plate. But if you're a catcher who's giving me close to 30 homers, 30 doubles, and 100 RBIs a year, it's hard to keep you outside the top 10. That offensive value at the position is just crazy. Just missing on the top 5 at number 6, I've got JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies. Originally, I was going to have him towards the back end of the top 10, but upon further review, while his game is getting worse, it's still really good. I mean, defensively, he's amazing. His pop time is 1.85, which is just absolutely disgusting. He actually barreled the ball well last year. Seemed like he got a little bit unlucky at times. Now, the chase rate and the whiff rate and the K rate, they weren't great. And I do think the Phillies probably want to have him catch less than 130 games moving forward every single year. But in 100 games last year, 14 homers, 18 doubles, 751 OPS with good defense, yeah, it's a borderline top 5 catcher right there, which is really impressive because he's going to be 34 next year. Getting the top 5 started at number 5, I've got Houston Astros catcher Yainer Diaz. Yainer's a dog, man. He is such a good baseball player. His baseball savant page is a lot of fun to look at. There's a ton of red on there. Defensively, framing-wise, not great, but he was a good blocker this year, good at throwing out runners. And what you love about Yainer the most is his bat. Good exit velos, puts the ball in play a ton. While he does weirdly chase, he doesn't strike out very much. And I think that's just because his approach is to do damage early in the counts, and then he shortens up as he gets more and more strikes. Now, would love to see him walk a little bit more, but 16 homers, 29 doubles, a 299 average with a 766 OPS, and an OPS plus at 118. Those are awesome things to see out of a 25-year-old. In his second full season, he was a great player for the Astros, despite a slow start. Down a couple spots here at number 4, I'm going with Dodgers catcher Will Smith. Will Smith is still good. Will Smith is still borderline elite catcher. I think we just kind of get bored of him because he's a little bit of a boring player. Like every year since 2021, he's hit 20 homers and 20 doubles and drove in 70 to 80 runs a season and have an OPS right around 800. Like you can chalk in Will Smith every single year to be exactly what he is. And that's a good catcher. And even defensively last year, he was great at caught stealing, 100th percentile and caught stealing above average. It's just his framing is awful. I bumped him down 2 spots. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I still think he's a really good player. No longer the number 1 catcher in my eyes in Major League Baseball. At number 3, I've got Adley Rutschman of the Baltimore Orioles. Weird year for Adley. Very strange. Because defensively, he was still great like he always is, and he doesn't swing and miss, and he gets on base, and he doesn't strike out, and he squares the ball up well. But the numbers just kind of weren't great overall in the season, and I think, honestly, he might be playing a little bit too much right now. He played 148 games in 2024, 154 in 2023, and I know he DHs sometimes, but he might just need some legitimate days off. 19 homers, 21 doubles, 79 RBIs. Like, that's not a bad year by any means. A 250 average, 318 on base is the problem. That's a huge drop off, nearly 60 points from the previous year. The OPS was down to 709. It was a bad year for Adley, but you'd be crazy to think if he's not one of the best catchers in baseball. Still, I expect a major bounce back next year. Just missing out at the number 1 spot at number 2, I've got Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners. Cal Raleigh, big dumper, continues to be one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball. Big reason why he strikes out 170 times a year, so people don't like that because of his low average. But with elite defense behind the plate last year, elite, 34 homers, 100 RBIs. Need I say more? A 748 OPS gave him an OPS plus at 119. The power, the switch hitting ability, the glove, everything that Cal Raleigh does, besides making contact consistently, because he strikes out a ton, he's elite. He's the number 2 catcher in baseball, and honestly, I don't think you can even make an argument for anyone else. He might even be the best catcher in baseball, according to some people. Gotta show Big Dumper some love. Which now leads us to the number 1 catcher in Major League Baseball for the 2025 season. In my opinion, that's going to be William Contreras of the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, Contreras finished 5th in the MVP voting this past year, guys. He was an all-star. He's a silver slugger. He's good defensively behind the plate. He is the best catcher in baseball. And truthfully, I think it's very obvious and clear. 155 games this past year. They DH him as well. 23 homers, 37 doubles, 92 RBIs with 9 stolen bases, hitting 281 with a 365 on base, 466 slugging, and an 831 OPS for an OPS plus at 129. Again, 5th in MVP voting. That guy changed the Brewers lineup, changed this Brewers team. That trade was amazing for them. They got William Contreras from the Braves, and he's such a dog. He's so good. I know he comes up to the trumpets to troll Edwin Diaz. Now, I don't think that's true necessarily. I think it was during the Atlanta days, but he's a damn good player, and he is, in my opinion, the clear and obvious choice to be the #1 catcher in Major League Baseball this next season. So there they are, my catcher rankings for the 2025 season. I'd love to know who you guys think is the best catcher in Major League Baseball, or just let me know your opinions on my rankings down in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. We got so many more rankings coming at you, including the top 50 on Christmas Day. You're not going to want to miss that. And follow me on all my social media, GiraffeNeckMarc, links in the description. You can chirp me there if you hate my rankings that much too. Otherwise, that's where I'll wrap it up. You guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload. Click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching day one. I'll see you tomorrow for the first base ranking. Can't wait. Bye.